A new independent report, an audit of 2016's deadly Baltimore City school bus crash that left 6 people dead, finds necessary changes to prevent this from happening again have not occurred. Now, Baltimore City schools, they say that is not true. They say otherwise. WJZ is live tonight. George Solis has the details for us. George?
Mary, this is the independent audit suggested by the NTSB during their initial investigation of the crash. Now, in it, a slew of findings, some troubling other recommendations to ensure a crash like that doesn't happen again. Baltimore City Public Schools saying everything in here isn't exactly accurate. A horrifying and traumatic scene the early morning of November 2016. 6 people killed and nearly a dozen others injured after a Baltimore City school bus and an MTA bus collided in southwest Baltimore. Michelle Kennedy was one of the survivors on board the MTA bus.
Can't really go back to work. I tried to go, I couldn't do it, my body wouldn't let me.
A federal investigation into the crash revealed school bus driver Glenn Chappelle had a history of seizures and other medical conditions that should have prevented him from ever being put behind the wheel. His grandson speaking with WJZ days after the crash.
So physical or medical background check was done, and they found that he had a condition like this, then they absolutely should not have given him the position.
A lawsuit has since been filed both against the medical provider that cleared Chappelle as well as the company that employed him, AA Affordable Transportation. Though the final National Transportation Safety Board report on the crash has not been released, their initial investigation recommended the state conduct an independent and neutral audit of the crash. Those findings now made public. It was more than a year ago that this fence here at the scene of the crash was lined with poster boards with messages honoring the victims of the crash. The audit finding that enough hasn't been done to prevent a similar crash from happening again. The audit finding since the accident, quote, no apparent changes were made to the organizational structure or operating practices. The audit also red flagging 2 drivers employed by city schools, noting they had medical issues that were not discovered on their last examination. Going on to say, quote, BCPS continues to be out of compliance with this particular element of disqualifying drivers with medical conditions. Baltimore City Schools firing back in a statement saying many of the recommendations in the audit have already been implemented, and in the case of the 2 drivers, both no longer working for city schools. Now, the audit claims that school transportation staff ultimately cares about safety, but the system they work for needs a massive overhaul. City School says, again, changes have already been made, but agree there's always room for improvement. Live tonight, George Solis reporting for WJZ.
George, thank you. And the full audit and response from Baltimore City Public Schools is on our website, WJZ.com.